All right, so today you're going to need to have a ruler and your compass, and we are starting some constructions. So first we are going to do copying of a segment. So I'm looking at my segment right here, and I want to copy it. This is probably the most basic construction we will ever do. So I start with my straight edge. I usually try to keep it with the same sort of orientation, so try to keep it kind of parallel to the line that we were given. And I start by drawing just a straight pathway, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to add to that a little dot right here that will be like the end point right here that I'm trying to transfer. So now I'm going to take my compass, I'm going to open it up to this width, so I need to open the wheel a little bit wider to right about here. So I want it to be at this width, and I just want to make a little arc just to make sure I'm in a good spot, and that feels good. So what that's doing is it's taking my compass and it's keeping it at that width. So when I go down to this endpoint right here, I can replicate that movement. And when I put a little dot right here, I have made congruent segments. So this segment is identical to this segment right here. Sometimes I erase the excess here and here just to clean it up a little bit. But I have copied my segment. My segments are congruent. Okay, for B, I'm going to do it one more time. If you want to pause, try it yourself, and then watch me do it one more time. That sounds great. Here we go. So here again, I'm going to try to make it roughly parallel to the first. I'm going to draw in a straight pathway. Okay, I'm going to put a little dot. Maybe I'll put it right here. That's like the end point here that I'm trying to transfer down. And then I need my compass open to this width. So let me close it down a little bit right to here. Okay, I want to check to make sure that I'm at a good width. That looks great. So now I put the needle at this end point, make another arc, just like so. Put in the dot right here. Erase the excess. And I have segments that are congruent. So copying the segment created a congruent pair of segments. They are identical, same size, same shape. All right, next construction. So perpendicular bisector. So a perpendicular bisector means that when we draw in the straight pathway, it's going to create right angles, 90-degree angles, and bisect the original segment. So it's going to split it into two congruent parts, and I can roughly visualize where it's going to fall. It should be something like this because it's going to create those right angles. So what I need to do with my compass is I can pick either endpoint. It doesn't matter which one. I'll start with the one on the left. So I'm going to put my needle right here on the left. And I want my compass open to a setting that is a little bit more than halfway across. So here's about halfway. It needs to be a little bit more than halfway across. Okay, other than that, it doesn't matter. Just it has to be open a little bit more than halfway. So this is a good setting. So I'm going to make an arc above, like so. And then I'm going to swing my hand and go in the opposite direction right here. So I've made two arcs. So my needle is right here at this end point, just like so. And I made an arc above and below, just like I'm drawing on the paper. Okay, I keep my compass open the same setting. And I put my needle at the other end point right here. And I'm going to make that same motion above and below. But where I'm interested in are these points of intersection specifically. I'm looking at where does it cross through the other arc that I drew. Okay, those 2 points of intersection are really here and here. So now I take my straight edge and I slice right on through those 2 points of intersection. So here what I've drawn is my perpendicular bisector. So what I should be able to see is that this segment right here is congruent to this segment right here. I could always show that with tick marks. And that I've created these 90-degree pathways, that all of these angles have to be 90 degrees. One other thing that's worthwhile to point out is that if I trace my pencil anywhere along the perpendicular bisector, let's say I stop right here, and I put a dot right here, a point right there, the distance from this point to this end point will always be the same as to this end point. So if I draw that out just to show you exactly what I'm talking about, just a little sketch of it. So right now I'm picturing connecting like so. So I've made this triangle. Here we know that this segment got bisected, and these are right angles. So this segment here and this segment here will match perfectly. So I can show that with tick marks as well. So really what I can show you is that you end up creating this isosceles triangle that is split down the middle, right? That perpendicular bisector right here splits it into two congruent right triangles. All right, let's try the skill one more time. So if you want to pause, try it yourself and then come back, that would be great. All right, here we go. So here I'm taking my compass. I'm going to start with this endpoint. It doesn't matter. I just have to make sure that my compass is open more than halfway. Okay, mine's a little wide, so I might close it down a little bit, but it really doesn't matter. It just has to be more than halfway. I'm going to make that arc above as well as below. And then I'm going to keep the same setting, put my needle at the other end point, make an arc above and below. Okay, what I'm interested in are these 2 points of intersection here and here. And then when I take my straight edge and slice through them, that is my perpendicular bisector. So again, I should be able to see that the segment, the original segment, got split into two congruent parts, and it created right angles as well. So here's my little box notation that says right angles. And remember what I said as well. If I take my pencil and I trace anywhere along this pathway, I know that, say I stop right there, it would be equidistant to this endpoint as to this one right here. Okay, that will always be the case no matter where I stop. Even if I stop here, the distance to this point and the distance to this point will always be the same. All right, next construction. All right, so on the second page, we're looking at angles. So first I'm having us copy an angle. So duplicate the angle. So the first thing that I start off with is I draw a ray in the space below. And I try to keep it kind of aligned like this one is, the lower one. Okay, so I'm trying to create kind of a parallel pathway. And I'm going to draw the initial ray. The length that I draw it does not matter. But this right here will be the vertex of my angle, just like it is right here. All right, the next thing that I do, I'm going to take my compass, whatever setting, it does not matter. Okay, I just want to make sure that it's at a setting where it's going to slice through both of these rays. So here and here. So this setting looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this initial arc, just like so. Okay, my needle was right here at the vertex of the angle. So I drew that initial arc, just like so. Now I'm going to put my needle right here, and I'm going to draw that arc again. All right, so next thing that I have to do, I'm trying to copy the angle. So my needle goes right here. So I'm going to put my needle right here, and I want to open it to this width. So I want it to be open to right here, this point of intersection. So I need to close my compass down a little bit. I need it to be this wide right here. So I want it to be this width right here. So from these 2 points of intersection. And once I feel good about it, I'm going to mark a little notch, a little arc to make sure it looks like it's in the right spot. And that looks great. So now that I'm checked, I'm essentially just copying that width down here. So my needle goes right here. I'm going to draw that intersecting arc like so. Okay, keeping an eye on this point of intersection right there. And then I'm going to slice through and connect. So what I've just done by copying my angle is I've created congruent angles. Congruent angles are the same size and shape. Their measures would be equal. So if I took my protractor out and I measured both of these angle measures, they should be the same as well. Okay, same instructions as before. If you want to pause me for a moment and try the second one on your own, that would be great. All right, here we go. So, same process. I'm looking at this lower ray. That's my preference. So I'm going to start by drawing my starting ray, just like so. This is where the vertex will be of the angle that I'm copying, right? That's the vertex right here. Okay, I want my compass to be open to a setting where it will slice through both of the rays. So when I go like this, I just want to make sure it's going to slice through. Will it slice through over here? It will. Okay, I can rotate my paper or I can twist my hand with my compass. I just want to draw that initial arc just like so. So my needle was right here, and I just twisted my wrist like that, but I could also twist my paper. That's another strategy. Okay, and then I want to come down to right here, and I want to replicate that motion. Okay, I want to make sure I'm seeing where it's going to slice through that initial ray, just like so. So again, my needle was at the vertex. I wanted to make sure that it sliced through both of those initial rays. And then I went down here and I did the same thing. Okay, next thing to do, I'm going to put my needle right here. So right here. And I want to open it to this width right here. So I want it to be this wide. So between this point of intersection and this point of intersection right there. I'm going to mark a little notch. So drawing that little arc just to make sure I'm in the right spot. That looked great. So now I'm going to take this width, slide it down to here, and make another arc right there. So this point right here, I'm going to connect my vertex through that point. And I have duplicated my angle. I have copied my angle. These angles would be congruent. Their measures are equal. All right, one more construction for today. So next up, we're going to do the angle bisector for each angle. So my first motion is to make an initial arc. So here's the vertex of my angle. I just have to make sure that my arc will slice through both rays, and really any setting will achieve that. So I'm going to keep my setting this wide. Okay, so I'm going to make it that wide. But again, this one doesn't really matter, the initial arc. So I need to make sure that I draw that arc. I want it to slice through both of my rays. So it's giving me an equal distance here as it is right here. Okay, the next thing that I need to do is I need to go to this end point, right, or not end point, this intersection point right here, and I want to put my needle right there. To bisect the angle, I know where it's going to fall. I know it has to be right there, right in the middle. So when I open my compass like this, I just need to make sure that when I make these intersections, when I make these arcs in the middle, that I can get an actual intersection between them. So here it looks like it's at a good setting. Okay, so I'm going to make that arc right here in the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to put my needle at this point of intersection. Hold it like that. And I'm going to make another arc right in the middle that crosses it. So I'm really interested in that intersection point right there. So I want to connect that point to the vertex right here. Okay, and then I take my straight edge and I connect through. And I have bisected my angle. So when I bisect something, I create two congruent parts. So this angle will be congruent to this angle. Their measures would be equal. Okay, if you want to pause me, try the second one on your own. That would be great. And then here we go. Let me model it for you one last time. So the first thing that I do is I put my needle at the vertex and I draw an arc that slices through both rays, just like so. Okay, next thing to do, I need to go to both of these intersection points here and here. So if I start at this one, I want to draw an arc in the interior of my angle. And I'm interested in where it's going to intersect with the one that I draw over here. Okay, so now I put my needle right here at this intersection point, and I draw another arc in the interior, very conscious of where it crosses through, right? This point of intersection right here. Okay, I want to see where it connects to the vertex like so. And then I'm just drawing that straight pathway that slices through them. And here we go. So I have bisected the angle. I have divided it into two congruent parts. These angles will be congruent. Their measures will be equal. So you should be good at copying a segment, constructing the perpendicular bisector for a segment, copying an angle, and constructing an angle bisector for an angle. All right, have a good rest of your day.